A boy, Christmas brought so much joy. Couldn't wait for the presents and laughter. I couldn't sleep late at night, looking for Santa with lights. Those are the memories I still remember. Then I became a man, lost sight of who I am. But right in front of me was the answer. 'Cause on Christmas I feel joy, and I turn back to a boy. The answer is to stay young forever. This is not a Christmas, this is not a Christmas song. This is not a Christmas, this is not a Christmas song. This is not a Christmas, this is not a Christmas song. This is not a Christmas, this is not a Christmas song.
Hello, Star Wars fans. You know, there's just 326 days until Christmas 2023. Oh my goodness. Oh, we're still a long way away. But, today I've got a very special Guardians of the Whills. You know, we like to bring up topics to talk about. And we get together with some folks and we just talk about Star Wars, topic related, not necessarily news related. And I'm really excited today. Reached out and I've been teasing this out for a week now. But I reached out to a Black Jedi, and hello there.
Hi, hello there. You are a bold one, General Kenobi.
yes. And you'll see a lot of people call me a shill because I do like the sequel trilogy a lot, and Rey, Palpatine, Skywalker. I'm all for it, all of it. But that's me, and so they give me a hard time. You'll see that in the chat. That's where that's coming from.
You like what you like, man.
Exactly.
People say stuff like that. If you like something, you like it.
You know, that's I constantly use the analogy of pineapple pizza. To me, it's an aberration, right?
I don't eat pineapple on pizza.
Yeah, no, not doing pineapple on the pizza. To me, it's all the things that are wrong with this world. But for people that like it, they like it. And they're allowed to do that. Doesn't mean I have to eat it.
There
But,
you go.
You go for it. And, of course, I've got my good friend Meg, Star Wars Meg. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Santa, you were, it's funny you're talking about pizza, but I don't think you remember our last conversation about pizza. You were telling me about the kinds of pizza you and your wife like, and she doesn't like the sausage.
Megan? No. Yeah, you have to know what she's doing. She's being naughty.
Making a joke? I was wondering if she was, but I was like, no.
It is true, though. It's true from both a joking point of view, but also Santa's wife likes her pizza without sausage.
She likes the shrooms on there. She really likes pepperoni and mushroom. But I like to get sausage and mild peppers and all that. But, yeah. But Meg's giving me a hard time. Yeah.
But if we're still talking about pizza, I like sausage. If we're talking about pizza.
Yeah.
Still talking about pizza.
Still talking about pizza.
Okay, let's make it sure. Right.
That's right. Hey, so we're going to kind of go through the movies today, and we're just kind of chatting right before the stream how we all have different opinions. There's things that we like, we dislike, much like the pineapple pizza. Some of us like things that others of us don't. And I think it'll be fun for us to go through, like any Star Wars fan would, and say, what's your favorite scene from each of the movies? And to be honest, I had to rewatch a couple of them a couple of times to come up with something, because for me, not every movie is my favorite. And and to pick a favorite scene from a movie that's not my favorite kind of challenged me. So I think it'll be fun for us to go through, and we can kind of go through here chronologically or numerically, not in release order, and just get a sense for what's your favorite. And I'd say before I do that, and I know Meg and we've talked about it a lot, but just from a trilogy perspective, as a whole, if you were to rate the trilogies, original, prequel, sequel, 1, 2, and 3, what would be your favorite trilogy, then second and third?
So favorite trilogy is the original. It's funny because this is it's kind of weird. It's actually gonna go in the order of release. Favorite trilogy is the original. Second favorite would be the prequels, and least favorite would be the sequels.
And Meg, what's your order?
I'm gonna go prequels, original, sequels.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
you're
That's
a
interesting.
prequel baby. Yeah,
I only like one of the sequels, and I really don't like the other two sequels. So, but it's funny because the one sequel I like goes as high as my love for the prequels, I think.
yeah.
But the other two just drop to the bottom.
That's why I group them together, because it makes it a little bit more difficult. Because for me, it's originals, then sequels, then prequels. But that's not to say that there's not a movie in the prequels that I don't enjoy, or that, as Meg's kind of mentioning, a movie in the sequels that she doesn't enjoy. So I think as we go through, this will be fun conversation to have, and you kind of get a sense for where our starting point is. And if we go back to the Phantom Menace, you have to pick a scene out of the Phantom Menace that's your favorite scene. Where would you go to?
Out of the Phantom Menace. Oh man. You know what? I'm actually going to say. Oh, before I do this, I need to say this. Your intro music is amazing. It's
Thank you.
It's literally like, I want to know the name of that song. After behind the scenes, we can talk about that because I have to put that in my playlist. But I'm gonna listen to it all year round. I don't care if it's not Christmas time. But I would have to say, actually, the opening of the Phantom Menace is my favorite part of the movie. I would say like the Darth Maul scene, but I feel like that's like, oh, of course everyone likes when they fight at the end. But I'm gonna actually say the opening of the movie, where it just feels so mysterious, and I think it's the most like the original trilogy, if that makes sense. And like when you're seeing these two Jedi Knights and they're on this mission, and everything that happens with the gas coming into the room, they're this is more than just one scene, I know. I'm just saying like that first part, and then they use like force speed. I thought that was so amazing to get out of the away from the droids. I was like, oh, that's awesome. Every time I see it, I feel like a little kid again. So I'm going to go with that opening part right there with them on the ship trying to figure out what's going on. And
yeah, got it. Meg, what's your go-to for the Phantom Menace? What's your favorite scene?
I really like where ABJ's mind is at with that opening, because I never really even consider that opening when you're talking about the Phantom Menace. We all talk about Duel of the Fates and maybe the arrival on Naboo, but yeah, that opening shot where they've both got their hoods on and they're entering the Trade Federation, and then they remove their hoods, they take out those droids. I would say Duel of the Fates still is my number one from that movie, but I also strangely really enjoy the Gungan celebration at the end of the film. I really like that. I love the music. What's it? Orgy's Municipal Band? Is that what the song is called?
I don't know. I don't know.
I think that's
I don't
what
know.
it's
You got to beat on that.
With the horns, right? The woo woo woo, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Right?
I know Baymax knows the song because he mentioned it once. I think it is called the Municipal Band, and they used a Nigerian gospel band in real life to do that.
I didn't know that.
It's a really cool part of the soundtrack, and I really like it. And I like the way Boss Nass holds up the orb, and then the outro music. But I'm still going to go with Duel of the Fates.
That's. I'm trying to log into Streamlabs because I see that the bot is being kind of aggressive, and so I see
really
your
doesn't like
message,
Jedi
Matt.
Mike.
I don't know what Mike did to offend Streamlabs, but let me see if I can get logged in. There's a couple things. One is Duel of the Fates, easily the easiest, but it's ABJ. That's like the easy, right? That's low hanging fruit. If I had to go further in and say, okay, well, if I can't take that one, then what would I take? And And I really like that opening sequence with Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan going in. But I hate the force speed running.
Oh,
I hate it so much. Let's see if I can turn this off. Here we go. Turn that off. Let's see. I think that I've got the cloud bot off. So hopefully, our friend Jedi Mike can get back in, because I know that force speed running was an editing error, not like intentional. Like they cut the clips from there, and it sped it up unintentionally. But
I didn't know that part.
Yeah, it was a thing done in editing when they were trimming film, and they dropped a couple of frames. But that's
okay, Santa. So sorry to interrupt you. I'm so sorry. But when we come to The Last Jedi, can we please touch upon your criticism of that?
Yes.
Because I know you like The Last Jedi, and I feel like your logic is inconsistent. Sorry.
It probably is. It probably is.
I was so confused because Meg, your accent for a second, it sounds like you're saying The Lost Jedi. It's like The Lost Jedi. It's The Lost.
The last. The last.
Okay,
I
got it.
She's got a rounded A on there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I've got a rounded A.
Oh God.
Yes. I know. Don't.
I'm not going there.
Yeah, the force speed was an accident. If you go back and you watch like the making of Phantom Menace, like when I first watched it, I didn't even pick that up that it even happened like that. I just thought it cut away from them. But then I had to go back and watch it again to see like they actually dashed across there. And that was after I saw the making of, when they said that this was an editing mistake, that they cut frames from there, and then they had to explain it. Much like the force kick of Luke on the sail barge.
Okay.
So the force kick is just like a different angle of the kick that they filmed from the wrong angle, right? So that you can see the distance between his foot and the person. So that's so anyway, that's that. But I was an old fart by the time the prequels, old meaning I was in my 20s by the time the prequels came out.
Right.
And but I did enjoy Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan on the ship, and the whole sequence around that, minus that force speed thing, the rest of it. But Meg, you might absolutely be right about my inconsistent logic. We'll address that when we get there. The next movie, Attack of the Clones. Now this one was a really, really difficult one for me because I hate the movie so much. Right? I despise Attack of the Clones so much. But my friend Megan asked me probably almost a year ago if I would help her out with a project she was working on. And she made me actually go back and watch Attack of the Clones like 100 million times. It's like, what have I agreed to? Why did I agree to help Meg with this? Because I hate this movie so much. But in that movie, and after seeing the Clone Wars, the animated series, the scenes with Dooku in it stand apart for me. And when you get to the end, right after the Battle of Geonosis, or in that sequence, when Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon, Anakin and Obi-Wan meet with Dooku, that would be my favorite scene from Attack of the Clones. Now, what about you, ABJ?
Favorite scene. I got it. But before I say that, this is strictly non-Star Wars related, but it just entered my brain, so I gotta say it. You have like you have an extraordinary beard, and I don't know how. Like so for instance, myself, like I'm always like playing with the little bit of like chin hair I have. So I don't know how you keep your hands like out of your beard at all times. That was just it entered my brain all of a sudden. I'm sorry.
Well, I have to tell you, there's a reason why. It's because I am a Santa Claus. And the oils from your hands will discolor your beard.
Oh,
And so you have to learn not to touch. Like when it's this is my beard is naturally white. This is just natural color. I don't have to do anything to it. So I used to play with it a lot, and then I went to and this sounds funny, but there's Santa Claus conventions, and I'm getting ready to go to one here in a couple months down in Tennessee. And when you go there, you talk about beard care and all of that. Messing with your beard will cause it to the oils from your hands mess with it. So it's taking practice. It's taking
that's
discipline.
good to know. So as soon as you said that, you saw what I did with my hand. I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, yours isn't naturally white, so I think you're fine.
Oh, okay, so I don't have to worry about. Okay, all right, so I can keep doing it. So yeah, so Attack of the Clones, I think favorite scene. It's split between the arena battle, that whole sequence where the Mace shows up and they're fighting the creatures. All that is awesome. So it's between that and Obi-Wan being a detective on Kamino and Jango showing up. I like both of those a lot. I'd probably have to go with the arena scene though, which is probably like most people's favorite. It's so weird for me, Attack of the Clones, because like as a kid, as you know, like your taste kind of changes usually as you get older. And like as a kid, it was like my favorite. I loved it so much until episode 3, then that was my favorite. But now I kind of like, it's hard for me to sit there and watch the movie. You know, I'm like, this movie's not as good as I thought it was. So yeah, I would probably go with the arena scene, but I'm not a huge Attack of the Clones fan anymore. Sorry, Meg.
And Meg, what would your favorite scene from Attack of the Clones? It's probably the one where C-3PO's head gets replaced by the battle droid, isn't it?
No. Okay, so you know I love Attack of the Clones. I think Dawn said it in the chat. It's so important for Anakin's development. His anger towards the Tusken Raiders and his mum's funeral is heart-wrenching. The way, the scene where it's like, I hate them. I think that is so overlooked, and we often don't associate it with Attack of the Clones because it's such a short part of the film. But I would say that's George Lucas's like big reason for even having Episode 2. You know what I mean? Like, yes, he had to explain the build-up for the Clone Wars, but also Anakin's arc. I do agree with ABJ that the Camino scenes were really, really cool. I'm probably going to go with the battle between Yoda and Count Dooku, which I know was a bit controversial at the time, to have Yoda as CGI and like a little bouncing ball with a lightsaber. But I really enjoy it. I think that's like the climax of the film for me. I was just talking with Matt Rissman on the Discord because we kind of have a clue that Max Rebo is in The Mandalorian season 3. Sorry, that's neither here nor there, but if you're interested later, you could go check that out. But to the question, I'm going to say Yoda versus Dooku.
That hurts me.
Agree with Yoda bouncing around. I loved it as a kid. I still love it now. I love all of it. I love the sound effects. It's great.
Not fam. That ain't for me.
I like lightsabers. I really like lightsabers.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I like Jedi. That's what I miss about, I guess you could say, Star Wars in general. I want more Jedi-centered stories with a lot of Jedi doing Jedi stuff. But
Yeah, when
ABJ,
that movie
did you enjoy the Andor show?
Yeah, so man, that's such a mix for me. I'm sorry. I know, Santa, you got to get to your favorite scene. I just think that I don't mean to, what's it called, the stream, but the Andor show, yes, I liked it, but I hear so many people say, oh, it didn't feel like Star Wars, which I agree to a certain extent because it's so different from anything we've ever seen in Star Wars. But as a show, I think it was a good show. I enjoyed it. I'm a huge fan of stuff like The Force and Jedi. And not to say that Star Wars is only that, but that's just what I really like about Star Wars. So for me, while it was enjoyable, I just want more content like that. So I was kind of like, this is cool, but where's the lightsabers at?
For sure. I think that's what the Ahsoka show is going to give us.
Yeah, for sure.
Sorry, Santa.
To the question, what did I think of the Yoda dueling when Attack of the Clones came out? I was like, what the heck is this? That was it. I was just like, this is the most bizarre odd thing I've ever seen in my life. It did not land well with me at all. And I've said this before, like in my own relationship with Star Wars, Attack of the Clones broke me. Like I've heard so many people say like The Last Jedi broke them, right? Like they were Star Wars fans and now they just don't have a good relationship with the franchise. For me, Attack of the Clones did that. Like The Phantom Menace, I found myself defending it a lot amongst my peer group, like people my age. I was in the Army, the U.S. Army, and a bunch of adults. We were talking, and they were all like hating on it, and I'm like, hey, it's fun, it's Star Wars, calm yourself down. And then Attack of the Clones, I'm like, nope, I'm out. And this was another of the scenes that did it for me. Not only that, but as I've talked to Meg, and I was joking, the C-3PO's head getting tossed around and popped onto droids was the stupidest thing ever. And then you had the whole droid factory with R2 flying. I was like, nope.
You know what the
nope.
weirdest part of it?
R2 can't fly. That ain't happening. It's like, so the whole movie just broke me. But it's taken me a long time to have a better relationship with Attack of the Clones.
Right.
And but yeah. So yeah.
Well, Anthony Daniels really didn't like the treatment of his character in episode 2. If you read the book I Am C-3PO, he talks about actually Rian Johnson and JJ being almost a saving grace for the character of 3PO, because he didn't like George's direction in the prequels for his character.
Yeah. I was just the wrong age, and I was in the wrong mindset. That like, this Star Wars isn't for me. This isn't my Star Wars. That kind of stuff. And rather than taking it as George Lucas's Star Wars and for what he wanted it to be, right? The droid foundry scene was trash. Yeah, and that's when I like the first time I'm watching a movie, the droid foundry scene is when I may step back and went like, and then R2 flew, and I was like, nope. So, go to Revenge of the Sith. Revenge of the Sith. Many people's maybe favorite movie of all, but a lot of people will put it at the very top tier of Star Wars movies. To me, it still doesn't achieve that rank, but I'll let you guys tell your favorite scene from Revenge of the Sith.
Hello there. No, that's not my favorite one. Probably my favorite is, man, to be fair, like I feel like this is gonna probably sound blasphemous to a lot of people, but I feel like I'll say this: Revenge of the Sith is my generation's Empire, in the sense of like it did that much for the fandom, and I think it's the most memorable of the prequels, the best of the prequels. And that movie is so memeable and so quotable. Like, I think it might be the most quotable movie of all time. I'm not even like, maybe that's just the fanboy in me, but I think it's like one of the most quotable movies ever. But that's why it's hard to pick like one scene from the movie. Once again, I find myself picking two. It's either when Mace and the rest of the Jedi, if you could even call them that, because they got messed up right away, go to fight Palps, and they get the whole "it's treason" and all that stuff, or it's oh man, actually I can't even say that because there's another scene that I just thought of. So it's either that scene or it's when Yoda and Palpatine fight, and you get the whole like, I've been waiting a long time for this, my little green friend, and then you get the the Yoda when he's like, "If so powerful you are, why leave?" All that stuff is just like,
I love your impressions.
Me too.
They're horrible, but thank you.
No, they're fantastic.
They're better than you think.
No, I thank you. But those scenes are just great. And one more is when Vader is being, even though I'll admit, even as a kid, I thought it was kind of crazy how rushed it felt, that he was like, henceforth you will be known as Darth Vader. And I was just like, wait, that's it? It's just that? Okay, no, okay, cool. But still, that scene is just amazing, you know? I can't really decide between those three. They're all like, it probably depends on the day, which one I would say that is Star Wars cinema. You know, it's
great. Megan.
It's funny when you said you will be known as Darth Vader. I always, as a kid, when I watched that film, I always found it funny the pause between Darth and Vader. So in my mind, Palpatine was going through like a baby book of names for Sith to try and find the one that matches Anakin.
Vader, yeah.
He's like, no, not that one. Okay, Vader.
Yeah.
Favorite scene. So, you know, on Felucia during Order 66, after Ayla gets shot, her booty jiggles. No, I'm joking. That's not my favorite scene.
Does that actually happen? Does her booty actually jiggle?
It does. I've not checked, but
I've never, even as like a straight man, I don't think I've ever noticed her booty jiggling in that scene.
there's a little bit. There's a little bit. No, I'd say I've got to say the Anakin versus Obi-Wan Battle of the Heroes.
Yeah,
I think that's the peak of it, and I think that's the best performance by Ewan, giving that speech of "You were the chosen one." It was said you would destroy the Sith, not join them. That for me is the best moment of the trilogy.
Yeah,
I just googled Felucia booty jiggle. Don't do it.
Don't do it.
It's not worth
it. For me, my whole life I was waiting to see Anakin become Darth Vader. Because we were told a long time, way before the prequels, that he became Darth Vader in this accident at a volcano. Right? And there was all kinds of things like, I really wanted to see that accident at the volcano. What happened? How did that transpire? How did he become Darth Vader? And at least in my mind, leading up to the prequels, it happened there, not before, right? He was already Darth Vader when they had the battle on Mustafar, but I was always looking forward to that, and it was so exciting to get to see them fight on Mustafar. It's like, yeah, okay, this isn't a volcano, but it's like a volcano planet, and like they amped it up. It took it to 11, right? Like, it was great. That was really exciting for me, and my disappointments with the movie still hurt, right? Like, I still can't get over Padme just dying and how all that transpired. There's a ton of the movie that still bothers me, but for me, by far, it's got to be the battle on Mustafar, fulfilling dreams that I had, for my entire life. Getting to see that, awesome, absolutely awesome.
I have a question for you, Santa. So,
yeah.
Instead of Padme saying, or rather the Polis Massa droid saying she lost the will to live, how would you have felt if they literally explained it with like heart failure or something more concrete?
That would have been better. I'll tell you what would have been better is for her to have been pregnant in Attack of the Clones, and to have the babies before Revenge of the Sith, and then they get separated out later, so that there's some history of Leia with their mom, and they could have taken Luke away to hide him away right away, like, he can't know about this boy, and maybe he knew about Leia, but I don't know. That whole thing should have been done different, so that Leia had a memory of her mom that was natural, not one that had to be conceived later, where we but she had premonition and blah blah blah, blah. Like, headcanon stuff that you have to fill in. I don't care for that. But it would have been better to take what the current explanation is, like Palpatine was drawing her energy out. Whatever. I don't know. I just hate it so much. I can't help it.
Where do you all sit on that? Do you all? I've heard people in the fandom say stuff like they feel like, oh, Palpatine might have something to do with her dying, all type of stuff. I just think, like George Lucas, like he said, like he just lost the will to live. Like,
yeah. Well,
and that's a really good point. But there's also the important points that George Lucas made it very clear Palpatine didn't kill Padme because it was all of these coincidences, all of these things going in his way, if you will, that led him to the arrogance he has by the original trilogy. Everything just fell into place the way Palpatine wanted. It wasn't that he actually manipulated, orchestrated her death.
Yeah, and to Dawn's point, like broken heart syndrome is a thing. It happens all the time, where a spouse passes and the other spouse will pass like right away, within hours or certainly within days. It happens in real life all the time. But it doesn't happen at one of the most joyful days of your life when you have your children, like that normally doesn't. Like broken heart syndrome happens when you lose your spouse, and it's typically later in life, not something that happens when you're in the prime of your life and you just had these twin children that you love with your entire heart. So, that's I got plenty of gripes with it, but I don't want to focus on those. I want to focus on the favorite scenes. And I'll go back to the Battle of Mustafar, fulfilling dreams. Yeah. So the two that I had to really think about were the Solo and Rogue One.
We're doing the spin-offs.
Yeah, if we can.
Oh, I didn't know we were doing the spin-offs. That's going to be hard for Solo, but go ahead.
It is hard. Solo,
I agree.
I went and was thinking about Solo, and I'm like, what did I like? So I rewatched it with the intent of, well, what's my favorite scene? Yeah, I couldn't think of anything just off the top of my head. So I went back. It has to be for me the Kessel Run. When they're leaving Kessel, they're flying through the mall, and they've got the monsters there. They've got the TIEs fighting them. Action sequence. The first time Han Solo is really flying the Falcon. And showing his piloting skills with the Falcon, a great sequence. To me, it would have to be that sequence for me.
Is it my turn?
Yeah.
Man, that movie is garbage. No,
go ahead. That's fine.
It's you know what? It's not that Solo is garbage. Me and my friend, we actually, before I ever got into YouTube, me and my friend did a podcast, if you can even call it that. That actually wasn't that bad, but it was on some app. I don't even know. It was never on YouTube, and I still feel the same way as I did because on the podcast we did, it was a review for Solo, and we both felt the same way about that movie, and it all boiled down to one word: fine. The movie is fine. It's a movie. You could have it on in the background and not hate yourself, but it's not, in my opinion, really good or bad. It's fine. There's certain parts that I didn't like, and there's few parts that I really like. So everything was just kind of okay. So it's kind of hard to think of a scene that really stands out. If I had to pick one, maybe it would be the train heist scene. Where they killed off the best character.
Right? She just kills herself. Yeah.
No, I don't think she's the best character. But I think the I don't even know
the forearm dude.
The forearm guy. That's to show you how much I watched this movie. I think I've seen it once.
Yeah.
The guy with the four arms. He's the best.
Rio Durant.
Okay, there you go. Thank you, Meg. And this is why she's has 100,000 subscribers plus. She knows that kind of stuff. I don't even know his name, but he was the best character to me in the movie. And I was like, I remember in the theater when he died, I was like, oh, come on. But yeah, I think the train heist is cool. And probably Emphas Nest, is that her name?
Yeah.
And I think her character is cool, like just the armor. I don't know if she doesn't really have much of a character, but she looks cool. So she gets points for that.
All right. Meg,
if you like Envy's Nest, I highly recommend you watch the Willow series, at least until it gets
she is bad. I heard the whole thing was bad because I tried to watch the first episode and I was like, eh.
I think it was episode 5 that I just decided to call it quits. It was
Okay.
it was just insufferable. Even though the beginning was really really good, but for Solo, I think the Maul scene, the hologram of Darth Maul with Kira,
Hmm.
because that sets up the comics and the next stages of her journey.
I gotta say something about that, Meg. What was so? Me and my friend, when we saw it, we were hyped during that scene. It was funny because there was two older people beside us laughing at us. How hyped people were like, "Oh, it's Maul! It's Maul!" Because this is the first time we've seen him since the prequels, in live action. And I got one. He looked weird because it wasn't Ray Park, but also, I have what was the point? All right, of him taking out his lightsaber and
I think it was Ray Park.
weird.
I
No,
think
I
it
don't
was.
think it's a.
Yeah,
I
is
don't
it not
think-
Ray Park?
He
No,
doesn't
I
look.
don't think it is. Or it's
Interesting.
it's Dad Bod Ray Park.
Maybe his face looks different now.
Like,
I thought the scene was there for fan service. I think it was all for fan service.
Yeah, it was.
I can't give you a solid reason why they included Maul in that film, and a lot of people were like, why are they, integrating the criminal syndicate things with Maul?
It's not even that I was mad that they included Maul because I knew, like you said, it was for fan service. But hey, I'm a fan, but so I was like, oh, this is Maul. It was just so like it took fan service to the next level when he takes out his lightsaber. It's like, why does he have his lightsaber out? What is happening right now? But
And by the way, guys, it is Dad Bod Ray Park.
okay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. We need to pick up the pace to get to the other
my
movies.
bad.
So we'll make short work of Solo, and then but Meg, what was your favorite part of it? You're saying the almost the post credit scene, right? Just the
Exactly.
mall. All right. Move on to Rogue One. Now this is another one that was really hard for me. I was like, how do I pick a scene from Rogue One, like excluding the Vader hallway scene? So if the movie ended where Scarif explodes or whatever, right? And they die. Let's say it ended there. What would your favorite scene from the movie be?
Oh, that's easy.
That's
easy.
Go ahead.
It's very fan servicey, but it's when the battle's about to begin and all the X-wings are dropping in. This is Gold Leader. Like, oh, bro, yeah, all day. I'm there for the X-wing stuff. If like I said, like Star Wars, I love Jedi stuff. Like next to that is the X-wing and Starfighter stuff side of Star Wars. So yeah, that just did it for me, man. I was just smiling ear to ear in the theater.
Yeah. Meg?
I'm gonna say on Yavin 4, where we see R2D2 and 3PO, and it's a separate scene. I think it takes place just a little bit before, where we
Yep.
hear the announcer say, "Will General Sinjula report to whatever it was?" And my mind goes straight to, are they talking about Sham? Are they talking about Hera? Because you said we can't see the Vader lightsaber scene, because that for me was just the best moment in Star Wars between 2015 and 2016. I'm going to say the fan service stuff on Yavin 4.
I'm going with ABJ. The battle on Jeddah, or Scarif. The battle on Scarif, to me. Like you've got the AT-ATs, you've got X-Wings, you've got all the Star Wars. No lightsabers, but you've got all the other stuff, right? So the Battle of Scarif, to me, was I'm with Matt Risman there. And the reason I said you can't include the Darth Vader scene, because again, it's that low-hanging fruit.
It's so iconic.
It is.
An iconic scene. I think it always
It
will.
really is. It set the precedent for hallway scenes. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And so now we've got this thing where we've got these hallway scenes. You've got Vader's hallway scenes. You've got Maul's hallway scene. You've got, of course, Luke Skywalker's hallway scene, right?
My bad.
End of Mando 2, right? So I definitely, that's it's a short discussion if we let that in. It's like, yep, done. A New Hope. Now this one to me, A New Hope was when I was 10 years old in the theater. I was the perfect age. I was just the right age, and I saw it in the theater. And my mind was blown at the beginning when you've got the Star Destroyer coming in. And it just keeps coming and keeps coming. It's a massive scale. And see the Tantive 4 go, away, and then it's still getting larger and larger. So for me, it's that scene because of the impact it had on me as a 10-year-old. So New Hope. What do you pick as your favorite scene?
I don't know if you've started to see a pattern with me, but it's hard to like stick to a scene. It's more like the scenes that run together, or like two different scenes that I have to like pick that are tied. I think to me, the best part of that movie is when you get to see Luke, his like kind of his life, and like he's sitting at the table and his family drinking blue milk and stuff. And that part of the movie to where like he meets Obi-Wan for some reason is just like, I don't know, it's always going to be iconic. But then I also really like the part when they're on the Falcon for the first time and he's learning about the lightsaber, how to use it. So I don't know. It's between those two parts of the movie that I really just love. Like, it's just peak Star Wars, like I said about Revenge of the Sith. It's peak Star Wars cinema.
Meg, with the binary sunset right behind you, what would your A New Hope scene be?
I think Seth just named it. It's the hero's journey. It's the start of Luke's journey. You have John Williams music in the background playing, Binary Sunset. And I think that crescendo, it just does something for me every time I watch that film. Either that or Ben Kenobi's death.
Oh man, we got an Obi-Wan hater. I just want to see him die. That's crazy.
The opposite. I really kind of, I think the way he went out was so cool.
Yeah.
Because now that we have the Kenobi series and we know that Qui-Gon trained Obi-Wan, I'm not saying the Kenobi series was good by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm saying the one thing it did give us was the confirmation that between the end of that season and A New Hope, Qui-Gon trains Obi-Wan to become a Force ghost. And I think that gives it extra meaning.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but are we going to talk about the series at all? Or we're just doing movies?
No, just the
That's a
movies.
good question.
I would love to have you back again another time, and we could do that. But we're already going to be struggling for time because we're not even through the original trilogy yet. But Meg brings up a really good point. Like after the Kenobi series and after Revenge of the Sith, the recontextualization we have of Obi-Wan looking across the bay and seeing Luke and Leia together again, like that's the first time he's seen them back together since they were separated at birth. And when he was in the Kenobi series, helping Leia, and to see all of that happen, it's got much more gravitas, right? It's a much more poignant moment in the movie. So that's great. Empire Strikes Back. ESB, like my favorite movie of all the movies, Empire Strikes Back. What would you pick as your favorite scene out of that?
I agree with you. It's probably my favorite Star Wars movie too, and Revenge is right after it. But you can't ask me to pick a favorite scene in Empire. You sensing a pattern here? I will say this. That is the coziest of all Star Wars movies. There's just something about when you put Empire on. It's a feeling. Do you get what I mean? Like, it's not just like you're watching. It's a feeling you get from Empire. And maybe that's just me being a fanboy, but I think it just invokes something where it's just like, man, they don't make them like this no more. For some reason, I would say it is the sequence where Han and them are on the asteroid that's not an asteroid inside of it, and then when they come out and like Boba Fett finds them when they're on the back of the Star Destroyer, that whole sequence, like that whole thing, I love it. It's just once again peak Star Wars cinema, and it's so cozy. I don't know how to describe it, but like just this warm, cozy feeling. I'm like, yes, Star Wars.
That's great, Meg. What's your favorite?
I agree with ABJ and with you, Santa. When it comes to The Empire Strikes Back, it's one of the two greatest sequels in cinema history with Aliens, I would say. If you're going for like the two best sequels to a sci-fi fantasy sort of movie, Empire and Aliens, it doesn't get better than those. And it's cozy, as you said. Like, you watch the Dagobah scenes, you just want to wrap up with a blanket and a hot chocolate. Like, it's something about the whole film that's just so pleasant, no matter how many times you watch it. And it's one of the first films in cinema we have the bad guys winning at the end, and you're like, a proper cliffhanger where you're like, what's going to happen? to our heroes they're completely hopeless, but that's the message George Lucas gives, is hope with all of Star Wars. So if I have to narrow it down to one scene, it's either the Vader and Luke duel, the first one of the trilogy, where he reveals that he's his father, or Yoda teaching Luke on Dagobah, size matters not, and
Look.
that whole sequence with lifting the X-wing.
The greatest surprise scene in all of cinema ever. No, I am your father. To leave that movie and not know until you get the Return of the Jedi. Was he lying? Like, holy crap, what just happened? Like, the moment coming out of the theater, and your mind just can't get wrapped around Vader being Luke's dad. Like, how is that possible? They said that, Obi-Wan, you go back to New Hope, Obi-Wan said that Vader killed his father. How can this be? Vader's obviously lying. No, he's not. Yes, he is. Like, this was the fandom at the time. And that scene, again, because I was living it for the first time and I had to wait, right? You didn't have the answer right away. You had to wait. That to me, that's it. The battle on the in Cloud City. Yep, that's it.
That's good stuff too.
Then we go to Return of the Jedi. Return of the Jedi. What do you? Oh,
Best part of Return of the Jedi is the end. No, I'm just kidding. I got a hot take. I'm not a huge fan of Return. I like it. That's what's weird about me. When I say I'm not a huge fan of it, it's not I don't like it, because I still think it's one of the better Star Wars movies. It's just like, it's hard for me to be like, I'm gonna watch Return of the Jedi. I'm like, I don't want to watch that. So I like a lot of stuff. I like green lightsaber. I like maybe might be it. No,
yeah, no, that's good.
The best part of that movie, though, is probably, I'm sure everyone's going to say this, but that scene where they're on the sail barge and he catches the lightsaber for the first time, super iconic. Because after that, I feel like the movie just goes kind of downhill. But anyway, that's just me. I'm being a hater. I'm a Return hater. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Meg, where do you go with Return of the Jedi?
I got the honor to see Return of the Jedi in the Royal Albert Hall a few months ago with the live orchestra.
Ooh.
And it was beautiful. I've never been the biggest Return of the Jedi fan either. I've always put it lower down on my list. Even Attack of the Clones gets higher from me, I would say.
Oh, that's outlandish. But go ahead.
But I would say it's got some of the most wholesome and fulfilling moments of the trilogy. When it comes to Anakin's return, he is the Jedi, the Return of the Jedi. But my favorite moment is the Emperor's throne room, when Vader is redeemed and kills the Emperor. I don't see how any scene in that film beats that moment.
Delusions of grandeur, like Han Solo. That's hilarious. And then, it's obviously the Emperor's throne room scene for me. And cut to that also when Anakin has Luke take off his helmet so he can see him with his own eyes. Tearjerker. That's absolutely heartrending. It's fantastic. Trinity, did someone call me? Yeah, good to see you, Trinity. All right, so here we go. This is going to be fun. You ready?
No, it's not.
Let's do it.
Hey, BJ.
Santa, I will be very, very kind with this section.
I'm not. It's time to get toxic. No, I'm just kidding.
No, ABJ's like, I'm out. No, my mom's calling. Gotta go. All right. Hey, so we go to The Force Awakens. What would be your favorite scene from The Force Awakens?
Man, Force Awakens is such a weird movie because there's like parts where like, yo, this new Star Wars is about to be hidden, and then it's like, wait, why is this a New Hope? So there's so much of that in The Force Awakens. When I remember when I was watching it, I felt that way after leaving the cinema. But the best part of that movie has got to be because I'm approaching this as like not knowing what happens later. When like you get Snoke and he's all like giant, and you're like, wait, is he really that big? And he's talking to Kylo, and you just get those lines from the trailer. That's an awakening. Have you felt it? Didn't use it? Yes. You know, that's this. And like, and then you get the whole like line, you know, something more like, you know, the droid you seek is with your father, Han Solo. You know, all that. Like, I was just like, oh, this is so cool. That whole scene is amazing. I feel like that's the best part of the trilogy when you're getting that relationship between General Hux and him, where it's like they're at odds. It actually seems like it could go somewhere cool. Spoiler alert, it doesn't. But it was just like at the moment I was so hyped to see what would happen with all of that. We know what happened, but still, that was peak Star Wars cinema. I'm sorry.
There you go, Meg.
It's interesting because you know my thoughts on The Last Jedi, and I tend to defend that film more than most, I would say, in the saga.
More
just
than you
because
should.
just because it's so often bashed, and oftentimes I think people fail to see what the film was going for. With The Force Awakens, like ABJ said, it's weird because there are moments that are just absolutely incredible if you don't know what comes with the next two films. There's so much potential. Like I remember seeing Luke on that island at the end, and I'm going to say Luke on Octu, the literal cliffhanger right at the end, everyone excited to see Luke back. Yes. That's the best moment for me in the entire film. I mean, as much as I'll defend The Last Jedi, it bugged me that he just threw it in the next film. I will not defend that decision by Rian Johnson, but I will say the moment at the end of Force Awakens before he throws it is the best moment in The Force Awakens for me. I also love seeing Leia and Han reunited. That was really nice.
I'm close to Dawn here. The end sequence on Starkiller to me is my favorite. Not only the Rey lightsaber battle with Kylo, but what happens with Han and his son, seeing them together, the shock of seeing Kylo kill his dad, just amazing. I really that whole sequence all the way through Starkiller, my favorite for The Force Awakens. Certainly seeing Luke again at the end was fantastic, but yeah, and I've defended that fight between Rey and Kylo a million times. We won't do that here. We're just gonna let it go.
So no one chose Rey. Everyone was like, let's go with legacy characters.
I did.
No,
I said I said the battle between Rey and Kylo. I started all the way through that. Yeah.
I heard more emphasis on the Starkiller side.
Well, they were on Starkiller when that happened, and
true.
So, the Last Jedi.
Well, I think I gotta go now, Sam. No, you know what? I got a hot take. I've said this on my streams in the past, so I guess it's not that much of a hot take. But people don't listen to me. They're listening, but they don't listen. Okay, Santa? It's a problem. My wife.
I know.
She listens, but she doesn't listen. You know. You get it. Santa gets it.
I understand.
I don't think. Okay, The Lost Jedi is a good film, but a bad Star Wars movie. That's how I feel about The Last Jedi. The Last Jedi. I'm starting to sound like Meg. Favorite scene though, since we're doing favorite scenes and we're not tearing it apart here. Favorite scene has got to be the throne room, which is probably the most generic one. I love that fight scene. I thought it was super cool. And it's either that. No, I'll take it back. It's not that scene. It's the Yoda scene with Luke. That and like. Even though he calls down lightning, I was like, I don't know how I felt about that at the time. I was like, okay, so Thor, Yoda, okay, but just like their conversation is just great, and it actually made me feel like for the first time in that movie, it was like, oh, this is Star Wars. This is Star Wars. And then everything else was like, all right, this is ass. But anyway, go ahead.
Go ahead, Meg.
I've got to say, Yoda speaking to Luke. I think that scene spoke to me. I think I was 21 when The Last Jedi came out, and I think my dad had just died. And so kind of hearing Yoda's lesson to Luke resonated with me in a very weird way that I can't really explain. But I feel like if you're looking at The Last Jedi from the position of storytelling, the idea of legend, and the idea of inspiring, I think it's a fantastic movie. I do agree with ABJ. It's a good film in and of itself. I don't think it's good as Episode 8, but it's a great movie. And I think if Rian Johnson was given a trilogy that is away from the Skywalker saga, it might be one of the best pieces of Star Wars we've ever had. Like if they're going to do a High Republic trilogy, give it to Rian Johnson. I think that's the guy to craft the kind of storytelling going forward. I'm a big fan of his Knives Out movie, but I'm going to say Yoda and Luke. And I would even put the Yoda and Luke scene as in my top 3 favorite Star Wars scenes of all time.
Yeah, I'll say in the theater when Yoda appears with Luke and you get the real Yoda, not that prequel nonsense, right? When you get when you get the real Yoda sitting with Luke, there was a cheer in the stadium, or in the theater. It was fantastic. That was great.
Yoda's back! Yeah.
It was like, woo! There's Yoda. But my favorite scene is the throne room scene, all the way from before the battle, right? When we're with Snoke and he's tossing Rey around and like the whole thing, and Kylo deceives Snoke, and then of course the battle with the Praetorian Guard. That entire sequence, top notch. I love it.
I'm so glad you said that, because now I can come back to the Phantom Menace point, because there's a video on YouTube where some guy slowed down the throne room fight. There are way more inconsistencies in that scene than in the Phantom Menace.
Right, and it goes back to the Luke Force kick too, right? Like all of that. There is like the missing dagger, right? That just disappears. The Praetorian Guard standing in the back, just spinning around doing nothing. Like there's tons of things that if you break it down, it deserves some of the criticism that it gets from that perspective. But I learned a long time ago that you have to kind of let go of some of this stuff. And when I saw it like real time, the first time, I didn't see any of those inconsistencies. And to be honest, if you just watch it through and you're not looking specifically for that, you don't see it. So to me, it's the same with the Force kick, right? You don't see that if you're not looking for it. Somebody has to show it to you to see that he misses that guy by like 3 feet, right? Like,
right. If people liked the movie, they wouldn't even bring that stuff up. Like, if people like thought the movie was good, they would be like, they can't be perfect, So.
Right. And so Rise of Skywalker. Oh, and I'll say too that some of the cut scene that was left out of Last Jedi with Rey doing the Force the speed running should have been left in, but that's neither here nor there. Rise of Skywalker. Favorite scene from Rise of Skywalker?
Look, I think I'm a calm and reasonable person when it comes to talking about Star Wars. Even though, I will admit there have been times where I talked about the sequels where I'm very vocal in saying I think they're trash. Okay, but I try to do it in a more respectful way where I'm not yelling at people. Let me say this. There is not a single... there's one single one, but anyway, most of this movie, there is not one single redeemable quality. All right? The movie is garbage. All right? The best thing about the movie, all right, I think we all know. Hey, Babu Frick is the one good thing in the whole movie. He's Star Wars peak cinema, all right? But unfortunately, he can't even save the movie. It's between him and somehow Palpatine returned, because it is the best memeable line maybe in 20 years of any other movie. So yeah, that's all I got to say about the Rise of Skywalker. We don't talk about the Rise of Skywalker. We don't talk about it. I'd watch The Last Jedi over that.
I love it, ABJ.
I definitely I agree with ABJ. I think The Rise of Skywalker was a flick to the nips. And it's not a good Star Wars movie, and the ending was just... J.J. Abrams may as well have come onto the set with Chris Terrio, who's an even worse writer, they may as well have come up to me, grabbed my purse, taken my money, flipped me the bird, and walked away. That's what the Rey Skywalker thing was. I do love Babu Frick. I do agree with that. I think Dio was also, the hairdryer droid. I thought he was cool. My favorite thing is that they included Adi Gallia as part of the Force ghosts who speak to Rey. And if you played Jedi Starfighter as a kid, she was Mace Windu's Padawan and the main character. So I thought that was cool. I don't have any positive things to say about most of The Rise of Skywalker. Some of the cinematography was okay, but I can't sit through it. I can't rewatch it.
So for me, and this is a controversial part, and Meg knows this already, but I like The Rise of Skywalker. I've said it this way: I like all of the sequel movies better than any of the prequel movies.
Oh man!
So, but I know that's a fight right there.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks.
I know. You're gonna put me in the headlock and just like take me out. I know, but I just got to say that for me, it's the Ben and Han. At this point, Rey had already stabbed Ben through it, and when she healed him, the scar on his face went away. There's all the symbolism that Kylo Ren is gone. Kylo Ren died right there, and Ben Solo was resurrected, so to speak. And when Ben is talking to Han, and the mirror that we have between The Force Awakens and that scene in Rise, to me is one of the most iconic moments for me in the entire series. Like, it's so good. That was great.
Can you explain one thing about that scene for me? Just one thing.
Okay.
Where the hell is Han Solo coming from? How is he a Force ghost? I don't understand.
He's not a Force ghost. He's entirely Ben's memory entirely.
But that's stupid.
No. You know what?
I don't usually talk to my memories. It's like, I'm your memory. I mean, it was sentimental.
Kylo Ren is schizophrenic, confirmed?
That scene was, you know what that scene was? Chris Terrio and J.J. Abrams were sipping on their Starbucks latte, and they were like, how cool would it be if we have Han Solo say, I know, from The Empire Strikes Back? Because, like, Ben's going to be like, Dad. And he's going to be like, I know. That was how the conversation happened.
There's no way they were, like writing these scenes and stuff, and they were going, oh, that's good. There's no way.
I loved it. Look,
well, to be fair, I mean, obviously it was good to someone. Brother.
Yeah, I knew this would be fun, and you know that the way this is, and I'm so happy that you guys joined me today. I can't thank you enough from the bottom of my heart. This is fantastic. It's why my channel exists, because I remember when I was younger, before the internet, you know, way back when we had to chisel things out on stone, we didn't have the fights that we have on the internet we do today, right? We don't have YouTube channels calling out other YouTube channels. We don't have fans calling out other fans and like putting them down and devaluing their fandom. We would just haze each other like you guys just did to me. Right? It's great. Yeah. I love it. It's awesome, and it's the way that fans typically in real life interact with each other. When you're like, no, you're dumb. This is wrong. And we laugh and we have a good time. And like, well, you be you, man. It ain't for me. And that's great. I love it. And I wanted to do this on your favorite scenes to kind of force the issue. I challenged my friend Nikki to do the same. And she's like, no, I can't. No, she's like, oh, you threw down the gauntlet. Nikki and Felicity, they have a channel called The Salty Inferno. I said, that was my challenge to them. Go through all the movies, pick your favorite scenes, say something good about all of them. You go back to the Thumper rule. When I was a kid, we used to talk about the Thumper rule. If you can't say something nice, then don't say nothing at all. And when I was a teacher, one thing they taught us is for every negative, you have to give 2 positives, like to a student, right? If you're gonna tell a student that they did something wrong, you have to give them 2 positives to help keep from just demoralizing.
Compliment sandwich.
Yeah, exactly. It's compliment sandwich. So, look, this was a ton of fun, and you guys can all see how different we are, how we have different opinions, and how much fun this show was. I had a blast with you guys, and we could have done this in twice the time, easily.
Yeah,
easily.
we could have for sure.
We kind of rushed through a few of them. I would love to have you back, ABJ. We could talk about the Disney Plus series. That would be
for sure.
great. We'll
For
do
sure.
that another day. That would just
let's
be
do it.
so much fun. And of course, Meg, my best friend, Meg and I, we've formed this really, really close friendship over our love for this franchise and just being decent human beings. And you find out that when you strip away the internet and you talk to people as people, you have respect for one another, how much more productive it is for
sure.
everyone. So
Very
thank
true.
you so much. This was perfect, absolutely perfect.
Perfect.
It was great. And our friend Mike Porter, ABJ, do you know who Mike Porter is?
Maybe the name sounds familiar.
He supports all the channels. He's constantly on Twitter. He's on the Facebook or on YouTube feeds. He's chatting all the time. But he does dad jokes. Mike Porter's like my age, and he does dad jokes, and some of them are very dad jokes, right?
I love that.
Yeah. So he did a real good one today for you prequel lovers. This is for you guys. He says, why was it important during the prequels to spend time on Naboo and Coruscant?
Oh God, why?
The dad joke is because if you were a Jedi, it wouldn't hurt to spend time on those planets to padme your resume.
All right, okay. Get them out of here. Get them out of ship them off.
Mike Porter, we love him, and it's dad joke stuff, right? You're like, oh, that one hurt. It's really good. You guys make sure you're following Mike Porter on Twitter and ABJ, also YouTube channel. Just give us a quick lowdown on what you're up to. What are you going to be doing?
That's a good question because I don't know. I want to get back into doing more Star Wars stuff where I'm critical, but not in the sense where, I'm coming off like yelling at you. And I also just kind of like what Meg does, like kind of talk about leaks and like news that I think is interesting. That's kind of what I plan to do, even though the headline might be, something bad. It's not all bad. Yeah, my dog agrees with me. She's like, yeah. He's doing it.
Well, you're welcome to hang out with us anytime. Meg, you did an interview lately. You've got another one coming up that's super exciting. I don't know how much you want to share, but let us know what we can expect from you in the next couple days.
More of the usual stuff, really. But yeah, I do have an interview with Paulson Hyung-lee, who plays Carson Tevra in The Mandalorian, one of the New Republic officers. And we're trying to work out a time to do that. And fingers crossed, I'm trying to get Tony Gilroy as well.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Name dropping, Meg.
Just
I mean,
name dropping.
Did you see me down? We are not worthy. We are not worthy.
I tell you, we've said this before. Megan is a superstar in the Star Wars YouTube community. It's a privilege, it's an honor to call her a friend, and love Meg to death. And there we go, Matt Risman with the link to Black Jedi YouTube channel and Twitter. You guys can catch a Black Jedi over on YouTube and Twitter. Thank you for joining me today. And again,
wait, Santa, one thing.
anytime.
Sorry, you forgot to do the Patreon unlimited super chats, because if you're a patron of Santa, and everyone should be, go subscribe to Santa's Patreon, because you get an unlimited super chat where you can put your questions in for him.
You do, and I will bring it up right now because, and I'm afraid because when Meg does this, and you're learning a Black Jedi, ABJ, you're learning what she does to me, right? She does this to me all the time. It's a lot of fun, but it also embarrasses me, and she loves it. I do have a Patreon, and Patreon we do have just for $1, like just $1. My goodness, you could put in an unlimited super chat, and I'm afraid of what's in here, and I will read it. I will, I will read it. As long as it is appropriate. Now, when there's inappropriate parts, I skip over them, right? But I will look at it. So let's see.
Look, a message. Someone sent
what
you
a
a message.
surprise!
Oh,
Who would have guessed that
Who's
here on the
looking at
live stream
you?
questions it says Santa in The Last Jedi, Yoda tells Luke, "We are what they grow beyond. That's the true burden of all masters." This quote was touching, represents what all teachers must experience. So I guess my question is, why is Coke Zero really good? like the recipe
It's
for
not!
diet was meh, but you could tell Coke Zero is really sweet. Now we're going to start a whole new fight.
Oh, zero.
Look, I like the new sweetener they're using in these zero. What is it, aspartame or whatever? It's really good. So I think that's why Coke Zero is better, because it uses a superior form of sweetener.
To be fair, it's better than Diet Coke. So
That's
Yeah.
true. That is true.
That's what
But you
she's
see,
saying.
Santa always answers my questions.
I do.
I asked him about Krispy Kremes last time.
Krispy Kremes are fire.
They are
Look,
amazing.
I'm also covering the Darth Plagueis novel, and I just I have a friend that does these thumbnails, so I just these are my friends. But so we just posted chapter 3. Chapter 3, I posted that today, and I'll try to get chapter 4 up as well. Try to get several chapters up a week, because I'd like to get the entire novel out there, and we could talk about the Darth Plagueis novel together. So
It was just the picture. I was like, that's great.
that's good stuff. That's good. All right. Well, thank you all. Thanks so much for being here, and you guys. I hope you have a great day, and try to do something to make the world a little bit better. Reach across the aisle, do something nice, say something helpful, and let's try to break this trend of negativity that's out
Right.
there. And that's what I love. ABJ just said, you know what? I've got to pull back a little bit. Got to break the trend of negativity and get real and talk about Star Wars. And you could talk about the negative aspects, but just in a constructive kind of way. I love it. It's really, really good. So thank you so much. And again, we'll have you back again sometime. All right. You guys, take care. Have a great day. And until next time, my friends, ho, 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 Merry Christmas. And may the force be with you always.